1. The deciduous man. The deciduous man. This is an obvious mysterious opener. Rayburn, Christy, Clark and Walloper. Obvious bellend is obvious. So here he comes full puffed up. He marches right up to the desk, shoves past. An obvious cue. He's just standing there, saying nothing, oozing authority, or maybe he just needed a shite. I can't tell, to be fair, could be either or even some other more pressing problem. He maybe needed the key to the disabled bogs. If he had a serious issue of that nature though, he would have his own skeleton key. I've seen them things and they are ornate and hoorin. Jabby. Opens plenty holes though, loads of them. Alright. I say, still banging through a knitted sheep kit and paper mache. Bestiality diorama set. Kids and slummy mummies love the crafty caparage. Apart from the gunk on their fingers and bags of shite. Well, nay, quite shite. But beads and stuffed pencils, loads of skittery crap. Beef. Beef, beef. He's getting right up behind the woman I'm serving, really close I'm hoping. If the bam has to sneeze he will day it in his fucking elbow, but nay joy. Pushy prick. Nay pointy shoes and stupid lanyard though so he couldn't be in. Oil cunt. Visitors from Mockland, rusty chain mail. Not chain mail. He's wearing the alien implant jacket. It looks a bit like chain mail until given closer inspection. And who would you send to pick up boxes of alien implants? Yes, that's silly. Twat from Rayburn, Christy, Clark and Walloper, like he'd even fucking notice what was going on. The Walloper. A good opener based on a true-ish story. 2. The deciduous man. He was a right dick. Probably a bit touched, bit of a special. Amazing the cunt. Could drive though, they walk amongst us. The fucking time min. I wrote a wee green pen note, choppy and slightly italic min. As and when. Pretty much the same as above. Rayburn, Christy, Clark and Walloper. The driver is the Walloper. I am Walloper, see, it's written on my name. Badge. Respect me, I have a good jobby min. Picks up a box of alien implants from crematorium abs, but like he'd know what he was picking up. He's just the Walloper. Not a jot of a fucking clue. THERES, no lino on the cattle grid. So he's been disrespected from the get-go. Do you cunts not know who I am? Obviously not. He'd been to Jobbycraft first though, so was humiliated and a bit bitten. Already, run in with the burning and bouncing Bieber kids that got killed. Later in that poisonous giant U outside Union Square they also get chased by the shop's in-house sex beast pedo, etc. Wallace RHOMP Walloper 3. Full title, not on the lanyard, SP. Anyhow, this is an obvious mysterious, makes no sense until later opening scene. Until that fucking cosplay pervert comes up the river, later on, visitor from Mockland can't figure out how to do the little dots above the in Mockland etc. 1. On wreckage. Nothing left, just a pair of eyeballs in a moldy skull. Later on that night, as the lamps burned low and the fire settled into a muted. Navigate up. The deciduous man.pdf. Comments. Find. More options. Edit file. To the deciduous man. He was a right dick. Probably a bit touched, bit of a special. Amazing the cunt. 3. The deciduous man. Blow in the hearth. I remarked upon his great change in appearance since my last visit. Perchance he would have knowledge of the sacred dance of cross. Platform content delivery, the massive fanny. He uncoiled himself, gangly weathered limbs cracking, holding my gaze for what seemed like an age, pulled a long drag from his pipe and explained it thus. I'm deciduous, this is the price I pay for my constant renewal in the spring. I suffer this every winter, and you are perhaps the first person this decade that has been privy to my pain and my secret A gentle hail of skin drowsed the table as he spoke, an avalanche of rotting amber dandruff. I realized that he had for some reason allowed me to see this process, allowed, or simply craved someone else to bear witness, whether it was real or not. Remained to be seen. I didn't feel privileged, to say the least. This was something that the man could have kept to himself. There was no reason for me to know this. Perhaps. I could imagine that somehow I had been colluded out here, in the middle of nowhere, with a deluded and possibly dangerous lunatic. Fair enough, a mentalist with some sort of wasting disease. He was rotting. The deciduous man. He assured me that I need not worry. His stint as an experimental alchemist had produced some startling discoveries. Originally, he had amused himself, pursuing the age-old quest of turning various base metals into gold, purely for profit. This had been stalled somewhat when the supply of lead at his local scrapyard had become scarce. He did for a time indulge in freelance raiding of houses and outbuildings in his local area, but this proved dangerous and risky business. Twice he had been cautioned by Grampian police's finest for scaling decrepit outhouses. Luckily, his quick wits deflected the officer's line of inquiry. Amazing what a surreptitious dousing of alcohol to the head and mouth will do to convince someone that one's true nature was not burglar but his head-climbing enthusiast. And of course the rabidly fake French accent also helped. I think you've had too much to drink, sir. Why don't you allow us to escort you to an alcohol assessment center where you can scrutinize the nature of your need to imbibe such large quantities of alcohol. Ah, yes, I would very much like to how you say unaccompany you, but this air building shall bend to my climbing skill. I misprove my metals. One officer grins, not even attempting to conceal his thoughts behind a politely raised hand over mouth. He's an of those Frenchy climbing nuts. Can like them folk that charge about jumping of buildings and that. Accompanying officer snorts in agreement. He's a bit old for that, ain't he? Ah, well, you live and learn. After roughly the same scenario occurred twice in 1 week, Mr. Cribbage decided that this ad hoc raiding and procurement was far too dangerous, and his alchemy took on a new twist. He tried new substances, astounded at his experimental audacity and inventiveness. Tetra Paks, discarded televisions, couches, a wheelie bin, a seagull, stunned with a length of wood, before finally striking it lucky and hitting upon a combination that produced startling results. It turned out that a quantity of discarded lager bottles, the right mixture of brands and levels of dregs contained within, was essential, and siphoned. 7. The deciduous man. Fresh piss from the portable urination pyramids that were dotted round the central streets of Aberdeen of a Friday, Saturday and Sunday night for the relief of revelers produces a fantastic substance that he dubbed wreckage. Interestingly, for a man in his condition, this wreckage was far more valuable than his initial goal of producing gold. What he was going to do with large ingots of gold anyway was something he had not really thought through. In a moment of rare sensibility, he concluded that the best way to handle any gold that he produced was to boldly produce a nugget of the valuable metal in lieu of cash at the local spa. He always found the drones of the Kingdom of Spa to be particularly susceptible to reasoned and forceful lunacy. But no matter, he had found something far better than gold. His crabby journals recorded the experimentation with his newly forged wreckage. He handed me 2 of them, detailing the most pertinent facts relating to his study. Meeting a scabby junkie on the street one night out. Gathering piss and bottles, he had somehow cajoled the human heroin Hoover into the back of a taxi and back to his sprawling period townhouse in old Aberdeen. How he managed this is beyond me. How he managed to regularly convince taxi drivers to transport empty bottles and containers of piss was also equally unfathomable.
Pushy prick.